Hey guys, this is Claudia here from the Bookkeeping Experts. As many of you know, I've been a bookkeeper for a long time and I absolutely love what I do. A lot of people ask me, how can you love numbers so much, Claudia? You know what? There's lots of ways for you to make it fun for yourself as well. One is that I see it as a puzzle. I love to solve puzzles. And I absolutely love when I can crack the mystery. We as accountants and bookkeepers, we need to crack those puzzles all the time. Sometimes, we don't know where something's coming from or why there is something on undeposited funds and so on and so forth. And we learn tools to understand it better. And to flow better. When we understand the flow of QuickBooks Online, especially the workflow for income transactions, everything just flows a lot better, and it's easier to find those little flaws or whatever system errors or whatever it is that creates a bump on the road for you. I see it, instead of a bump on the road, I see it as a challenge. I attack that challenge with everything I got, and at the end I am super satisfied when I can crack the code and understand the mystery, understand what's going on with those books. Now today we're going to talk about something that happens a lot is, when the invoice does not match the payment that the customer sent to you. So what do you do? So let's suppose that maybe you send an invoice to your client and the client ended up sending you an extra $50 for tips, or maybe added a few more items and then send the payment with those items added, but it wasn't adjusted in the invoice. So today we're gonna talk about that. So here we go. All right, so let's go to QuickBooks Online. There we go. All right, so we have a couple of deposits here, and I am going to record a sales or an invoice. That's more realistic. Create an invoice for these transactions, and let's suppose that the invoice was different than the payment received. I'm gonna put this payment on September 5th as $150 and the $55 as $50 instead. Okay, so let's suppose that that's what this client had. Okay, now wanted to tell you something here is that I always like to work with two screens. That makes it easier for me so that I can toggle back and forth into different places that I need to go. If you want to do that, you just bring your mouse all the way to the top, right click it, and then duplicate it. Okay, so this is my banking. So on the left hand side, banking, it's got my banking over here, and see that when the invoice does not match, it's not gonna, the amount doesn't match, it's not gonna match here. And remember the workflow for income transactions. There is an invoice created, and then you record a payment when the payment is received. You send that payment to undeposited funds, record the deposit, and then match it in here. All right, so let's create the invoice, and I'm gonna do it really fast because if you do want to see a video on how to create invoice, I have that. So I'll put it down below. So let's say that is Amy Sanctuary, and I'll just put design, and let's suppose I have 2 hours as $150. That's what I sent to Amy. That's what we had here. Okay. All right, now yeah, the date is for the 5th. Okay, yeah, so that's good. Now this one I have to create for the 5th of October, the next one, right? Okay, so we are going to save a new, create a new one. Let's build windsurf shop, and I'm gonna select pump. I'm not gonna make it tax. Oh well, pump is some kind of service here. The pump is taxable. Okay, service. Okay, good. And I'm gonna put here it's $50, not $500. $50. Okay, and I'm gonna change the date because the payment was received on October 5th. Keep in mind that if I create this invoice for a date that is after the date, I'll be in trouble. I can create, I guess, the invoice for September 5th as well, as long as the payment on the invoice is not for before the invoice. Does that make sense? Okay. If not, you're gonna get what we call an unapplied cash payment. Means that the payment was either recorded for a day that is before the invoice was created. Does that make sense? So you're matching to something. Let's suppose I create an invoice today. Let's say today is September 5, and then but the payment actually hit the account on September 1st. So how can the payment hit the account before the invoice? That's what QuickBooks is telling you. So you actually have to pay attention to the date and make sure that the date on the invoice is not for after the payment is accepted in your bank account. Okay, so that's enough. Okay, I'm gonna put due on receipt, or I can do the net 30 like it was. Okay, all right. So $50 design, and I'm gonna save and close. I send it to the client. This is just a sample count, so it's not always going to be exact. So I created that invoice. Next thing I'm gonna do is to make a payment. So to make a payment, I have a few options here. I can go into the customers, and I can go to Amy's Bird Sanctuary. That's the first one, and I'm gonna open, and I see the invoice that I just created here. I can click on Receive Payment right from here. It's gonna open up that invoice. I'm gonna put it for today's date. If I put this payment for after this date here, which is September 5th, then I'm going to receive an error. Okay, so receive payment, undeposited funds. But the problem is that this payment here does not match whatever happened in the bank. But a lot of people just accept the payment without adjusting the invoice. The right thing to do is to click on the invoice and adjust the invoice, and then charge the customer. But let's suppose that you didn't do that. Okay, so you receive payment. All right, receive payment September 5th, undeposited funds. We're gonna save and close. Okay, perfect. Now we're gonna receive the payment for the second one, and the second customer is from Bill's Windsurf. Made it simple for me. I just made the first and second client. Of course, this is just, you know, not real. Okay, so it's trying to match the two invoices. We're gonna mark just that invoice that we selected, and once again, I didn't adjust the payment on the invoice. I just marked it's paid. Okay. So the right thing to do, once again, is to go into the invoice, adjust the invoice, and receive the payment. But that's still okay. So you receive the payment. How do I fix from the deposit? Okay. So first of all, we're going to select the first one, Amy's Bird Sanctuary, and I'm going to make it for September 5. Now, this is the way that we're gonna fix the situation here. So we have the invoice was marked as $150. The client sent me $200. So the remaining balance, we're gonna put it over here where it says add funds to this deposit. This is your answer. I'm gonna say that Amy Bird Sanctuary. Okay, send me some extra money. Maybe it's a tip. Well, by the way, what it's saying here is that there's one open invoice. So do you want to open that invoice to see if this payment is related to that? But in this case, no, it's not, right? Like I said, this is just a sample account. No. So we are going to say that this is design income. You can put it as a tip as well. Keep in mind, if it is a tip, it will be a liability account if you are paying it back to your employees. If it is for yourself, it's just a service. It's just sales, right? So I'm going to add $50 here, and my date is correct. The bank account is correct. Now I added the $50 and the amount is correct. See the $200 here? Yeah. So that's how much money it was deposited. So it is very important for you to make sure you record it correctly here, right? So once I record it here, I'm going to save and close. Or I can save and close. I'm going to go to banking. And voila. See, if you want to see the details, you can click on the 200, you can click on the deposit, and voila, you can see it here. All right, so we can go ahead and click on match. If you want to see that on categorized, now keep in mind in banking, you have 3 tabs here. You have for review, means that those transactions came from the bank account but have not been categorized, have not been added to the books as of yet. You can create rules to make sure that any transaction that happens often and is for the same vendor is always going to be one categorization. Make it simple for you. Create rules. We have a video on rules. Check it out. All right. So anyhow, so that's one way for you to get this done. And then this categorized, those are transactions that have been accepted. We just accepted that one. That's where it's going to be, or excluded. Now, you don't exclude anything unless it is a duplicated transaction. Very important to know. Don't exclude anything unless it's a duplicated transaction. And that happens very rarely when maybe there's a bank error or something like that, or maybe sometimes there's no match on an invoice or a bill payment. But at the same time, when you do that, you want to actually undo and match instead of just exclude it. But if you exclude a transaction, like for being a personal transaction, then you can't reconcile the account. So if it is a personal transaction that was charged to your business account, you want to make sure you categorize that as a personal expense, which is going to go to an equity account and not going to impact your income statement at all, which is your profit and loss. All right. Okay. So that's clear here. We're going to look for that transaction so you can see it right here. So I have that transaction that I just added, and if you need to take a look at it, you can click on the purple highlighted area here. And it's going to take you to that deposit that you just recorded. And here's the detail, $150, and then plus that $50 extra sale. You can even take a look at that invoice if you click on it, and there it is. Lots of details, right? Okay, let's take a look at the second one. We're going to solve this a different way. Now this one you got to be very careful, okay? Now keep in mind, when you are matching a transaction in QuickBooks Online, you will always want to make sure that it's matching to a deposit. So let's suppose that there was a deposit here that was actually recorded for the $50, and that was for October 5th, and this amount did not match because the client paid $55. Okay, so we're gonna save and close and just record it as $50. So like I said, the right way is to go back into the invoice, fix the invoice, and then record the payment, and so on and so forth. But you can solve it this way as well. So that's kind of a shortcut. All right, so we have this amount here. We're gonna click here. I am certain that that transaction has a deposit because I just recorded it, but it's not matching. So how can I find it to match? Okay, I'm gonna click on find a match right over here. Oh wow, that's a lot of transaction here. Okay, I can actually search here, but I'm looking for the deposit and it's right here. See that? Okay, but once again, it is off by $50. So how can I solve that difference? Okay, see where it says resolve over here? That's where we're gonna go. You can click on the button over here and this line is gonna show up. This line works just like that line that you saw, add to the deposit on the deposit tab. Same thing. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna put the name of the payee, which is the name Bill's Windsurf Shop. Always put the name of the payee, by the way. And sometimes if it is a vendor, put the name of the vendor. If it is an expense, always put the name of the vendor on all your transactions. Always put the name of the client on your invoices. And the reason why we do that is because you want to use this information for your benefit. You want to be able to go into your profit and loss. You can look it by vendor, you can look it by customer, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you don't enter that information. If you're looking for a specific transaction, you can just go straight to that client if you had put the information in there. But if you haven't, you wouldn't be able to know. You'd have to dig in a little harder. All right. Okay, here it is. So I am going to put Bill's Windsurf. I'm going to say that this was obviously an income. I'm going to say maybe that was service, just service. That was $5, right? If this, once again, if this was a maybe a tip of $5, you could put it as service as well. Because the tip itself is a liability account unless it's paid directly to you and you're not distributing to your employees. That's the difference here. This tip is given to you and you're not distributing to any employees. It's yours. But if it is not yours, if it belongs to your employees, you're going to pay it back to them. You set it to a liability account so that once you pay your employees, you can remove that from the liability. Okay, $5 here. $55, and now I have a zero difference. Hooray! Always love that. See, this is my favorite part. Just when everything matches. I know what's going on. I asked my client, that's what it was, and save. Okay, now you want to see this transaction? We're going to go to categorize. So this is just a sample account. So those are the only two transactions, but obviously it's not going to be the same for you. So if you want to narrow it down, you can click where it says all date here and put the specific date. So let's see, the first one is September 5. You can put September 5 on both boxes, and we're going to narrow it down by that specific date to see just this one, the one for $200. If I want to go to the other one for Bill's Windsurfing, I know it's October 5. So here it is. We're going to adjust that. Apply, and voila. If I want to see the details, see where it says that it's multiple transactions. Okay, it means that there is more than just an invoice or deposit that was, in this case, you don't want to match to an invoice, like I said before. There's more than just a deposit that has been matched to. If you click here, you're going to see the breakdown, saying that $50 was this deposit and the remaining $5 was that the remaining difference as a deposit as well. Okay, all right. I hope that this was helpful to you. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please give us a thumbs up. And subscribe to our channel. Guess what? We love to bring you updated information on QuickBooks Online pretty frequently. So you want to stay up to date? Subscribe to our channel, and we are going to bring you all kinds content and free well, I can't say free tutoring to you. All right, if you are a business owner and you're overwhelmed, you don't know what to do with all your transactions, there's too many to be fixed, you want just to get caught up, feel free to contact us. We do cleanup services. We also do ongoing bookkeeping so you can focus on what to do best. Or if you want a one-on-one training because you want to do it, but you want to know what you're doing, we do that as well. You can contact us. I'm going to put my contact down below. You can call us, email us, and just hire us so that we can help you with whatever you need, either tutoring or just ongoing cleanup. We do it all. Thanks for watching and spending this time with me today. I'm excited to see you again next time. But until next time, keep on smiling.